This is Mike. He was a poor farmer who had known hardship all his life. Mike was an orphan. He lost both of his parents at a young age. Since then, he lived alone in a small mud hut that his late parents left behind. Life was never easy for Mike, but he didn't give up. To survive, Mike worked on other people's farms. He did all kinds of hard labor, from clearing bushes to planting and harvesting crops. The little money he made from these jobs was what he used to feed himself and buy basic things he needed. It wasn't much, but it kept him going. Despite his poverty, Mike was a good man, humble, kind, and hard-working. Many people in the village respected him for his honesty and strong spirit. There was one person who loved Mike deeply. Her name was Linda. Linda was a very beautiful young lady in the village. Many men admired her and wanted her attention, but her heart belonged to Mike. Even though Mike was poor, Linda didn't care about his financial status. She saw something special in him. She loved his kind heart, his determination, and the way he treated her with respect. Her love for Mike was real and strong. Linda always supported Mike. Whenever he was going to work on the farm, she followed him and helped him with the heavy work. She didn't mind getting dirty or tired. All she wanted was to make Mike's life a little easier. Together, they laughed, worked, and dreamed of a better future. One day, Linda found out she was pregnant. She went to Mike and shared the news. Mike was shocked at first, then tears rolled down his eyes. Not because he was sad, but because he was overwhelmed with mixed emotions. He was happy to know he was going to be a father, but deep inside, he was also worried. Mike didn't have money to pay Linda's bride price or give her a proper wedding. He felt like he had failed her. But Linda looked into his eyes and said, "Mike, I believe in you. I know one day God will bless you, and you will marry me properly." Mike held her hands and promised her, "I will marry you, Linda. I may not have much now, but I won't give up. One day I will give you and our child a better life." Months passed, and Linda gave birth to a beautiful baby girl. When Mike saw his daughter for the first time, his heart was filled with joy. He held the baby in his arms and cried tears of happiness. She was his first fruit, his blessing, and his hope for the future. But even in the middle of that joy, there was still a little sadness in Mike's heart. He remembered that he hadn't yet married Linda officially, and it troubled him. Still, he never stopped working hard, and Linda never stopped believing in him. Together, they raised their daughter with love and care. They had very little, but their hearts were full. No matter how tough life got, Mike and Linda stood by each other, proving that true love can survive even in the hardest times. A kind man, a good Samaritan, visited the village. He was touched by Mike's hardworking nature and gentle spirit. After speaking with Mike and hearing his story, the man made him an offer. He told Mike, "I want to help you. I will sponsor you to travel abroad. You'll go to the United States to work and build a better future." Mike couldn't believe his ears. His heart jumped with joy. For years he had prayed for a breakthrough, and now it seemed like God had finally answered. He quickly agreed, filled out many documents, and signed everything required for the trip. But when Mike told Linda about the opportunity, she didn't feel happy. Her heart was troubled. She sat in silence for a moment and then said, "Mike, what if you travel and forget about me and Sandra? What if you find someone else over there and never come back?" Mike held her close and looked deep into her eyes. "Linda," he said, "you and Sandra are my world. I'm going so I can make a better life for us. Please trust me. I will come back for you. I promise." After much talking, Linda finally agreed, even though her heart was heavy. She wanted the best for Mike. She wanted him to succeed. The day of Mike's journey came. Linda held baby Sandra in her arms and followed Mike to the airport. When it was time to leave, Mike hugged Linda tightly and kissed his baby girl's forehead. "I'll come back for you both," he said. "Please stay strong for me." Linda waved goodbye, tears rolling down her cheeks, as Mike disappeared into the airport and boarded his flight to the United States. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months. In the beginning, Linda and Mike spoke once in a while, but as time went on, they lost contact. Mike's calls stopped coming. His messages stopped arriving. Linda was heartbroken. She cried every day, holding baby Sandra close. She would whisper to her, "Your father will come back, he promised." But deep inside, Linda was scared and confused. She didn't know what had gone wrong. Sandra was still just a baby. She didn't know anything yet, but Linda always saw Mike's face in her. That made her miss him even more. As time passed, the sadness became too heavy for Linda. She began to fall sick. It started slowly, but got worse with each passing day. She had no one to care for her, only her little baby by her side. Even while sick, Linda never stopped praying for Mike to return. But months later, her body became too weak, and her heart couldn't take it anymore. One quiet evening, Linda closed her eyes and never opened them again. The news of her death shook the village. People cried, remembering how kind and gentle she was. But the saddest part was that she left behind little Sandra, just a small child with no one to care for her. A kind neighbor, another good Samaritan, stepped in and took Sandra to a nearby orphanage, a home for motherless and fatherless babies. It was there that Sandra began a new life. Sandra grew up in the orphanage, surrounded by other children, but deep inside she always felt something was missing. She didn't know her mother or father. She only had a single picture of her as a baby, held by a woman she would later learn was her mother, Linda. As Sandra grew into a beautiful young woman, she often sat alone, her eyes filled with tears. She wondered about her parents. Who were they? Why was she alone in this world? Every time she asked the staff at the orphanage, they would just sigh and say, "Your mother loved you so much. She tried her best." But those words were never enough to stop the pain. Sandra longed for love. She longed for answers. And she cried, many nights, all alone. But fate was not done with Sandra yet. The twist was still coming. Many years passed. Mike, the once poor village farmer, was now a billionaire. He lived in a grand mansion with many rooms, shining cars, and dozens of servants waiting to serve him. He had everything that money could buy, but his heart was empty. Ever since he returned from the United States, Mike had been searching everywhere for Linda and their daughter, Sandra. He visited many places, asked many people, and even hired search teams, but no one knew what had happened to them. Every night, Mike sat alone on his bed, staring at the ceiling with tears in his eyes. His soul was heavy. He didn't care about money or fame anymore. All he wanted was to see Linda's smile and hold his daughter in his arms. Many beautiful women came, hoping to win Mike's heart and become his wife. But Mike wasn't interested. His heart still belonged to Linda, the woman who stood by him when he had nothing. He had made a promise to her, and he had not forgotten. One afternoon, as Mike sat quietly in his living room, lost in thought, a young woman walked in through the open gate. Her clothes were torn. Her face looked tired. She greeted Mike politely and said, "Sir, please, I need work. I came from the home for motherless children. I'm willing to work as one of your servants." Mike looked up at her. He was angry, not because she asked for work, but because the pain in his heart made him bitter. He shouted, "Get out of my house before you dirty my chairs with your rags." Then, in his rage, he stood up and slapped her. The young woman cried and held her chin. She turned to walk away in shame. But just as she turned around, Mike noticed something. A small birthmark on the back of her neck. His heart skipped a beat. He remembered. Sandra had that exact same birthmark when she was a baby. "Wait, come back," Mike shouted. The girl turned, confused and scared. Mike's voice softened. "What's your name? Who are you?" With tears in her eyes, she replied, I don't know who I really am. I grew up in a motherless baby's home. They told me my mother died when I was a baby. They said she cried every day for my father until her heart couldn't take it anymore." Mike froze. His legs gave way and he dropped to his knees. "My daughter, I am your father," he cried. "I am Mike. Your mother was Linda, the love of my life." Sandra stood in shock. You're my father?" "Yes," Mike cried, hugging her tightly. "I searched for you for so long. Forgive me, my child. Please forgive me." Sandra was overwhelmed. She didn't know whether to cry or smile. But deep in her heart, something clicked. She felt a peace she had never known. From that day on, Mike made Sandra the center of his world. He showered her with love and surrounded her with everything she had ever lacked. He took her shopping, gave her the best education, and introduced her to the world as his only daughter. Their bond was strong, stronger than anything life had ever thrown at them. Mike never remarried. He lived in the memory of Linda, the woman who loved him when he had nothing, and who gave him the greatest gift of all, Sandra. And Sandra never cried again. Her search for love, family, and identity ended in the arms of her father. Moral lessons. 1. True love never dies. Even when separated by time, distance, or pain, love remains strong. 2. Never forget those who stood by you when you had nothing. 3. Money is not everything. Family, love, and peace matter more. 4. No matter how lost you feel, your story can still have a beautiful ending. 5. Life can take away people, but it can never erase their memory. Thank you message. Thank you, dear viewers, for following this touching story of love, loss, and reunion. If this story moved your heart, please support us by liking, commenting, and subscribing to this channel. Your support means the world to us. More powerful stories are coming your way, so stay connected, stay inspired, and always remember, love never fails. Thank you, and God bless you.